ready, and Arkansas is bringing it all, Dan.
Well, what a fitting place to come off of COVID and go to a championship. Arkansas, this is the Fenway Park of track and field, and they've got new Mondo flooring from wall to wall. This place is faster than ever. They've had 7 track meets here already this year, and it's produced 12 of the world's top times.
So the athletes were tested before they left their campuses. They were tested when they got here. They are masked, they are safe, and they can worry strictly about competition. And this is how the competition shakes out as we try to add up those points and get that team championship. 17 events. The first 8 places are all conference. They are the ones that score. 10, 8, and 6, first, second, and third. Those are the big points that can make a big difference when it comes to that trophy. And the first event of the meet is actually 5 events, the women's pentathlon.
5 events in less than 4 hours, John, and the first event, the 60-meter hurdles.
Highly anticipated matchup here between Tyra Gittens on the far right in the gray uniform, Anna Hall from Georgia. They both had great meets a couple of weeks ago. This is one of Tyra Gittens' best events. She's over on a first attempt, 6'2". This is Anna Hall in the high jump. One of her best events as well. State champion coming from the state of Colorado in the high jump. And she hits a personal best today, over 189.
That's great jumping for pentathlon. A personal best for Anna Hall as we move along to the shot put.
Petros Kipriano, who coaches Anna Hall, says she's really gotten stronger in the weight room. Tyra Gittens is also a good shot putter. She's over 41 feet. Not the best technique, but as long as it gets over the line, get those points any way you can. Anna Hall holds par with Tyra Gittens there, but this is where this highly anticipated rivalry kind of went downhill, Dwight. Both athletes were on the top of their game in the first 3 events, and then they get over to the 4th event, the long jump, and everybody who jumped in this direction had season lows. Anna Hall only out to 18.4. She's a 20-foot long jumper, but Tyra Gittens had it even worse on her attempts.
Going into this event, there was only 3 points separating these 2 athletes.
Tyra Gittens, an outstanding long jumper. She's been over 21 feet a couple of different times, but she just couldn't find the board. 13.6 just takes her completely out of the competition.
From 1st to 6th with that 3rd attempt long jump, just needed a mark. And no one has figured out what was wrong and what was going on that runway. So you see Anna Hall with a big first 3 event total, 134 points ahead of Ghana Edwards, and Tyra Gittens slipping 400 points off pace.
Yeah, Dwight, so that 3-point margin went to 399 because of the long jump, and then we get to the 800 meters. Now, like everybody, you can't have, Anna Hall's got parents, and that's her dad. They can't have fans in the, it doesn't matter if you're a parent, you can't have fans in the stands here at the Randall Tyson Track Center. So dad's outside peeking through the window. Came from Colorado, just wants to see his girl, get a glimpse of her, get a glance, checking the flash results, checking the live stream, and then just every once in a while you got to put your nose up against the glass and just get a glimpse of your kid and see what she's doing. And what he got today was great stuff from his daughter Anna Hall as she goes to the line in the final event, Dwight.
The 800, and Anna Hall is a dominant 800 runner. The only time she was behind was before the gun went off.
Well, she's run 2:07.91 as a personal best, and this is, you know, when you're a multi-eventer like Tyra Gittens, this is the last place you want to be, is going to the line even close to Anna Hall's ability. Only one other American in the heptathlon or the pentathlon and the women's multi-events has ever run faster than Anna Hall, and that's Erica Bogard. And she's a pro and made multiple world championships and Olympic teams. So Anna Hall holding par with some of the best heptathletes in the world in this particular event.
This is how good Anna Hall is and was. High school national record holder, winner of the Pan Am Under-20 title, 9th at the U20 World Championships, and then 2nd at this meet last year as a freshman. Of course, that was the last time they were able to compete collegiately. We were all in New Mexico waiting for the national championships when we got the word that the NCAA had canceled the season.
And Dwight, with that cancellation, I looked at Anna Hall last year as somebody who might not be able to make a Tokyo Olympic team. I put her 4 years down the road and said she's going to be a factor in 2024. But with that extra year, I think she will be a factor. She'll go to the Olympic trials this year, and she'll battle for that 2nd and that 3rd position to go to Tokyo.
It'll be valuable experience. Of course, those 2024 games now just 3 years away, and Anna Hall, you can see how dominant she is over this field. in the 800. She needed to run a personal best to get the collegiate record, but only a sophomore. It certainly appears to be in her sights in not too long, as she has at least a 30-meter lead over second place.
One of the biggest adjustments she had to make when she came to college was she wanted to stay strong in the 800 meters and train a lot in that half mile. But Petros, her coach, said, no, we got to work on the sprints and we got to work on the jumps. Everything's starting to come together for her, and she still continues to be dominant in her best in one of her favorite events.
For so many multi-eventers, they really dislike that middle distance event that concludes every multi-event competition. She has great depth there, and she can only get better. She runs just under a 2:11, a very solid time, but not close enough for a personal best or a national record. And we will finally see Tyra Gittens. What a disappointing performance for her because of that long jump. They were just 3 points separated going into that event. This would have been a great competition had they both been able to have their normal days, and we still haven't figured out what happened with that long jump.
Well, we're looking forward to that matchup in 2 weeks at the NCAA indoors.
So you can see 426 points over second place was Anna Hall. Sterling Lester of Florida getting second. Ghana Edwards of Arkansas third. And Tyra Gittens holds up 4-6. She gets 3 points. And we had a chance to talk to the champion right after the competition concluded.
It's a pretty good score for a not so good day. I started off really strong and then kind of had a big oops in the long jump. So I'm really happy that I was able to put up a pretty big score with some bad events. So I'm excited to see what I can do when I put it all together.
Let's talk about the good events. We had some breakthroughs. The high jump was terrific.
Yes, yeah, high jump was really exciting. I've been really close to that 189 bar the past few times, so to finally get it, I was really excited. And Petro saw me in warm-ups, and he was like, if you don't PR today, it's a shame because you look really good. So I had to pull it out.
All right, well, that was the pentathlon, a personal best in the high jump. 2 weeks from now, the NCAA championships. Who knows what Anna Hall might be ready for when we return here to Arkansas in 2 weeks.
We welcome you back to the 2021 SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships here at the Randall Tyson Track Center. This meet now a 3-day meet because of the pandemic and the conditions. So they ran the multis yesterday in the DMR, some field events. Look at what's happening here on Friday. Your field events will be finals, prelims and finals. Heptathlon men finish up their final few events in that 7-eventer, and you'll get a final as well in the 5,000 meters, and that'll be certainly a race you want to stick around and watch. Good competition there. Alabama, Ole Miss, and Arkansas put some guys on the track that will run really fast national caliber times in that meet. Everybody else, those prelims for the coaches trying to go through, get guys into tomorrow, get them into that finals where they can score points. Field event underway right now. Dwight Stones, this is for you. Here's the high jump.
Yep, the bar at 6 foot 8 inches. And that's a miss. Of course, Ronnie Rounds of LSU. And there's quite a separation in this field of 12. But half the field over 7 feet, half the field under 7 feet. But the dominant athlete is Javon Harrison, who's going to be going back and forth between the high jump and the long jump. He's defending champion in both. This is Trey Causey's first attempt at 6'8". And Dan, there's a big adjustment at this facility because this Mondo is so fast. Your run-up is set, and then it's telling you you don't have enough room suddenly.
Well, and Mondo is an adjustment, especially if you don't jump on it at your practice facility. And a lot of these teams are practicing outdoors. If you don't have an indoor facility, you're probably not on Mondo, which is kind of interesting. So when you get on the Mondo, you have to be active. You can't let that stride float. You're going to get some bounce off the track, but you've got to be active. Otherwise, your stride length is automatically going to be pushed out. And I think that's why we saw a little bit of problems in that long jump. It's so fast down there, and nobody has really been on this facility, but just a couple of times coming into this.
Bar at 6 feet 8 inches. The 6'6" was the opening height. But this Mondo is right down on concrete, so it's a hard surface. It would be a tough surface to practice on a lot, but it's a great competition surface so long as you know how to make the adjustment. You know, just like the long jump and the triple jump, high jump's a little bit also for accuracy, not just for height, but for accuracy. You can be way high up in the air, but if you've taken off too far away or too close and the bar's not on after you're done, it doesn't matter how high you were in the air.
And the high jump, as you know, Dwight, and you know, it's so much about feeling the turn in your run, but also where are you in the air? And if a guy can be a good jumper and not have very good bar awareness, and just like the jumper we just saw go one before, he's just like he had great pop off the ground, but then he got in the air and it's just like, whoa, you know, you've got to be able to feel your way over that bar, and that takes time, that takes repetition.
Now for second attempts at 6 feet 8 inches, Ronnie Rounds. And over with a slight brush. I'm always interested to watch these run-ups and how these athletes run them. So much of it is they could jump just as high from half of this run-up. They just don't use it well. This is actually a reasonably good run-up, even though he does ride the bar quite a distance. You know, my cue from my jumpers that I coach is to jump to the back corner, the opposite back corner, to try to minimize how much distance of the bar you use, how much time you're over the bar. Looked very tentative to me on the run-up, and that put him out. Plenty of height in front of the bar, but unfortunately hitting it on the way down.
Well, his coach Chris Grimes is an old friend of mine, and I know, you know, I saw the adjustment that he had Trey make, and Trey was a little too aggressive on his first jump. He's going to back off a little bit, but that put him out on his step. So the adjustment was an over adjustment.
You know, the fact of the matter is there's lots of ways to skin this cat. You've got lots of ways that you can attempt to jump. This is more of a long jump type of approach. Take off further away, give yourself more room to get altitude, and have a very flat, long, parabolic curve of flight. Whereas like Tyra Gittens, for example, has a very, very small trajectory of flight, up and down.
But she's very powerful. She gets a lot of quick pop off the ground.
Yeah, there's just not many curved steps in that last 4 steps there, and that's key. Plus, you've got to be able to hold your layout long enough to get your bottom past the bar, and if you're too far away, it's just hard to do. So now let's see if the right adjustment was made here. He needed to move up, or he needed to be more aggressive at the end. Well, certainly better. He jumped off from a closer distance to the bar, still brushed it on the way down.
And with these young athletes, when you talk about making adjustments in your step, talk about making adjustment, a lot of times these guys just make a better effort. And you know, you see so many guys just miss after miss after miss, and then all of a sudden they decide, I'm going to jump hard this time. They go over and they clear it by a mile. That's just, that's just attitude. And there you see Trey getting a little talk from Chris Grimes there. He coaches the multi-events and the jumps. We'll see him over there in the pole vault as well later this weekend.
So down to third attempt at 6'8" for Gene Bullock of LSU, teammate of Javon Harrison. And he manages to hold his layout just long enough to brush on the way down. So a clearance for him. And we'll be back with more live high jump coverage here at the SEC Championships. When we return, much more to come from Fayetteville. Back at the Randall Tyson Track Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas. More live men's high jump, the only event taking place on the infield. Field events and running events separated to have less athletes in the building. TJ Funches of Auburn with the bar now at 6'9" and a quarter. 3/4, I should say. 2 meters 8. You know what I've noticed in the last few years, maybe the last decade, Dan, is much more parity on the men's side, right side to left side. It used to be very dominant that jumpers jump from our side, the right side. Now I'm seeing it's more 60-40 as opposed to maybe 80-20, 85-15 when I was jumping.
In the throws as well, you didn't see a lot of left-handed throwers when we were coming up, and certainly not a lot of left-handed pole vaulters. But now you're seeing just a few more. You get out there in the discus, all of a sudden somebody takes a turn in the discus, going the left, going the wrong way. It's like, that looks weird, man.
It does. And of course, the discus cage is not built for left-handed throwers to take advantage of the wind. And Corbin over on his first attempt at 6'9" and 3/4. No, it's not Corbin.
Gordon.
Gordon from Ole Miss. Here's Mason Corbin. First attempt clearance at 6'9" and 3/4. Carter Bejoit from A&M as well, 6'9" and 3/4. He cleared 6'8" on his first attempt. First attempt so important at these lower heights because they really do end up determining placing.
And that was something I never had to worry about in a decathlon competition, was those makes, and it wasn't until you start calling high jump competitions and seeing the strategy, you know, especially at the end when there's 2 and 3 guys competing for those last few spots, just how strategic it is and how important those early misses and makes are.
And in championship events, a strategic pass at a high intermediate height will usually get the attention of your competitor, but it really puts you on the spot. Because once you've passed at a high height, if you don't clear on your first attempt, you've defeated the whole point of making the pass. Causey of Kentucky now up for his first attempt. And again, enough height to clear it, but just not in the right spot.
Well, he's jumped 7'1" and 3/4. He definitely has the capabilities. Just doesn't look like he has found the groove yet in his run. Finished 8th last year, transfer from Virginia.
Kobe Franklin of South Carolina. And he runs right into it with his upper body. You know, there's a lot of physics in all of these track and field events, but in the high jump, it's very, very important. You know, you're going in that pit no matter what. There's no reason whatsoever to have your head and your shoulders go to the pit while your foot is still attached to the ground. But we all do it. On some level, we all do it, especially when the heights get higher.
It wasn't until I started thinking about the physics of it, about the biomechanics of it, did I become a better high jumper. And it was only when I understood what running that turn meant and how I could, you know, how I could gain that momentum, or that you could just, it would send you in the air. But when you're young, you run, you jump, you go for feel. It's just like going up and trying to dunk a basketball. You take off from different spots, you try to find the spot that suits you best. But it's when you really get into the mechanics of the high jump is where those biomechanics can really just help you sail.
But Dwight, I'll ask you, at what point then does that analysis become paralysis, right? You see that with guys in their golf swings. They're trying to think of 147 things at once. You know, when you're on there, how often are you like, I've got one key and that's what I need?
Well, next to analysis and paralysis in the dictionary, there are no words, just my picture. I was my own worst enemy way too much of the time. But yeah, I think that you just have to have a working understanding of how it's supposed to work, because with an athlete, at least I want my athletes to be able to coach themselves, be able to fix their mistakes in the meets on their own, because I'm not there. So where they land in the pit and how they land in the pit tells them a lot about what they did on the ground and what they did in the jump. And I want them to understand the physics of how it works, that every action has an opposite and equal reaction, and how that works with the body, with the layout, and when you unlay out and all those things. But once they have the basics down and they know what they should be doing and how it works, then you got to just let it go and let your practice and your repetitions speak for you at the meets. I mean, this guy gets off the ground really great, but he has such a poor layout. You've really got to be able to push those hips way up in the air and have your head down in order to get that layout position. You've got to have that, especially as the bar goes higher. And it's just a difficult thing to do. Some athletes just want to always have their eyes on that bar or their eyes on something, and it makes them uncomfortable to push that head back and lose sort of sight of where they're going and what they're doing. And that was a jump right into the pit. And that's the main thing I tell my kids. You know, you're jumping into the air, not into the pit. Newton will take care of the part about you getting into the pit. Right. Just jump into the air.
Likewise, that the parabola of that, the turn that you run, it will turn your back to the bar. You don't have to work on that.
Right. That's the whole point of us having a curved run-up.
Right.
Is that close to 50% of your rotation happens while you're still attached to the ground. Once you leave the ground, you don't really weigh much. You're like a Raggedy Andy. And a lot of that is lost on the kids. And a lot of the coaches. A lot of coaches think that they need to come in much deeper and get more rotation on the ground, and it actually defeats rotation. I'm a very direct to the bar attacker. I don't want to use very much bar. Maybe 2.5 times my body width is ideal. So that takes a pretty direct attack in that turn, and it's hard to teach.
Well, yeah, the longer you're over that thing, the more bad things that can happen.
Correct. It's like a forward pass. 3 things can happen, 2 of them bad. And that's why I jump a lot. The kids jump mostly from a short approach, just to get the idea what that's supposed to look like. I take a lot of the speed out of the equation, because at their level, it's not about speed. In fact, until the bar goes well over your head at this level, collegiate level, it's not about speed. But we see a lot of guys in the SEC especially that are also long jumping or triple jumping, or they're converted long jumpers or triple jumpers just because they have really good pop. But you've got to teach all the technique. Remember, this is the shortest event in men's track and field. The world record's 8 feet 1/2 inch. That's it. So very small details make a big difference, and a big difference is a centimeter. Third attempts now, TJ Funches. Yeah, one thing you can't do is alter the way you run to the bar different from the way you've practiced it. And I think that was really smart of him to stop. I tell my kids, you can never put a bigger smile on my face than when you stop a run-up that you know is not right. And again, enough height to clear it, but just not in the right spot. So that ends TJ Funches' day on the high jump. He cleared 6 feet 8 inches. And that was just a timing thing. He was trying to use his arms properly, but they just weren't in harmony with his drive knee. And if you don't have it in harmony, it doesn't really do you much good to use your arms.
Very similar to the pole vault as well. You've got to plant that pole and you've got to take off before you do anything else. That's the #1 objective here. And so many kids, so many young athletes, they want to lean into that bar before they've taken off. And you can get away with it on the lower heights, but not on the higher heights.
Ronnie Rounds now for his 3rd attempt.
And if you're waiting for his teammate Javon Harrison, when we're going to see him, he's coming in at the next height. He'll start at 213, 6'11 3/4 is where Javon Harrison's going to begin his competition.
So there's a lot of potential there with Ronnie Rounds.
Coach Todd Lane in charge of the field event guys there down in Baton Rouge. He'll get him out there and run that approach again and again and again and again until he gets it drilled into him.
Well, we expected to see some attrition here at 6'9"3/4, and it's happened so far. Well, adjustments need to be made because he's getting up in the air high enough to clear this. There's nothing more frustrating to know that you're high enough in the air to clear a bar, but you're just not clearing it.
Oh, trust me, I know that one from some world championships. It's like, I'm way over that. How am I touching it? How am I hitting it? And because you're in the championship mindset, next thing you know, you're walking back to the locker room and getting ready for the 400 meters.
Yeah, I remember 1991 being particularly difficult for you.
Made my opening bar and then didn't make another one after that. Was on world record pace. Oh, just a close one there. World record pace, had to come out and do a PR in the 400 meters, but jumping well at that time in my career, and just, you know, no feel. Get out there and just don't have a feel for that that particular event on that particular day.
I know it was only 30 years ago, but was it a 1.97 clearance? Do I recall?
191.
191.
And then I went out at 97.
Oh my goodness, it was even worse than I thought. Okay, 6'3 1/4 result for a guy who cleared 7'2 1/2. So this is the final jumper at this height.
Wow.
Wow, that's just a shame. And the bar will go up. About 7 jumpers remaining, and we will be back with more live high jump from the SEC Championships. Welcome back to the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. Live high jump coverage just moments ago. Dontavius Hill of Auburn, his opening height 6'11 3/4, and he hits it a pretty good wrap, but it stays on. There's no point in starting high if you don't clear it on the first attempt. So he did so, and he is in the mix. We're expecting to see Javon Harrison of LSU come in at this height as well.
Hill's jump looked like a guy, Dwight, who had warmed up and then sat for about a half an hour, got up, took his sweats off, and moseyed up to the bar. Let's see if he can get into a little better rhythm, get a little bit more warmed up on these next bars.
Jack and Marseille jumping at a height that indoors is just a couple centimeters under his lifetime best. Just a freshman, so he didn't have much of a senior year there at Cardinal Gibbons High School in Fort Lauderdale last year. Alan Gordon, Ole Miss senior, his first attempt at 6'11 3/4. We'll also see him in the long jump. A combination, as a coach, I happen to detest. Oh, and unlucky there the way he hit it. So you ask me why. They only share 3 things in common. The word jump, the last 4 steps, boom, boom, ba boom, and the fact that you're in the air for a second. And after that, that's the end of it. They have completely different goals. Long jump, how far can I go horizontally from point to point? And the high jump, it's all vertical. As we see Mason Corbin up from A&M, his first attempt at 6'11 3/4. I would suspect that a clearance here scores points. Maybe even no misses through 6'9 3/4 could score points, which is very unusual for this conference. Just a few years ago, if you didn't jump 7'1 and change, maybe 7'2, you didn't score.
2019, Dwight, the outdoor 217, 7'1 1/2 was 8th place.
Yeah.
So here's your man.
And here is Javon Harrison, the defending champion in both the high jump and the long jump. Personal best 7'5 3/4. And nicely timed, height right over the crossbar. We know he hasn't taken a jump in quite a while. seen a lot of jumpers so far taking off on one side and landing past the standard on the other side. Second attempts now, Jack Lamberth at A&M. And he has that, my bottom was past it, therefore I should have cleared it mode. And it's true. If you get your bottom past the bar, you should clear it. I think we can see him taking it off with his calves on the way down. Yeah. That's frustrating.
But if you're wearing thick socks, sometimes you don't feel it.
I didn't even hit it.
Get those feet tucked up under you, and hard to get them back.
So second attempt for Jackson Marseille, the freshman. And he is pretty tight in there. Way in tight from the rest of the field. And he has a very direct attack, which I like, but no, it wasn't just your elbow, my young man. you jumped into the pit. You got to jump into the air. Watch how flat his flight is here. Well, he is tight.
For short training jumps, Dwight, do you like scissor jumps?
I hate scissors jumps.
Okay.
They mean nothing. They accomplish nothing.
No, because I remember when I came to your camp and I saw Jesse Williams scissoring 217, it was a pretty impressive feat.
Yeah, it's a good-looking trick. That's a second miss for Alan Gordon. I mean, it's how we all learned how to jump with a flop, really. The flop's just to lay down scissors, and you replace the lead leg with a lead knee. It's the best way to teach a young jumper how to do it. But after that, I think it's meaningless and potentially dangerous. Those heights, it's a good way to yank a groin muscle, and that's a slow healing part of the body if you do it. Oh. Yeah, when you have that lower leg kick thing happen, and that's what he has. It's a live by the sword, die by the sword type of situation. He was over it, and the lower leg kicked right into the crossbar.
Dwight, I might add there's a fourth thing that maybe is in common, and he's good there, but with the long jump is that deceleration is the killer, right? In any of those, you got to maintain that speed through that corner.
In any field event, I think you could say, even the throws.
Yeah.
All of it's an acceleration into the end of the effort. So our statistician Kevin Saylor says that 8th place has already been determined with a clearance of 6.8. So more depth problems in the men's high jump in the United States. We only have one athlete with an Olympic qualifying standard in the event right now. And we'll blink and we'll be at the Olympic trial. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Competition will get a little better outdoor. We've got some guys that are either hurt or have a senior season that they get to compete. Daryl Sullivan's back for Tennessee. Clayton Brown for Florida. Roberto Vilches at Missouri. Those guys are all 7.4 plus guys.
Yeah, 7.7 3/4 is a very stiff standard, I have to admit. I just don't know that the level in the world really justifies that high a qualifying standard. I know in the Olympics they're trying to pare down the amount of athletes that are entered into the qualifying rounds, and that's one way to do it. All right, third and final attempt for Alan Gordon at 6.11 3/4, 2 meters 13. So in typical long jumper style, he had a nice vertical run-up going on through the straight part and even in the transition. And then when he decided he wanted to accelerate, what does he do? He pushes his head and his shoulders forward, taking him completely out of position. Because you've got to have those hips behind your jumping foot as you're planting your foot. Otherwise, you're going to jump into the pit. So the body position is so critical. I've always said, you take speed, I'll take position. Over time, I will beat you every time. You know, front side running mechanics, very important in the high jump. All right, and that'll do it with the jumping at 6'11 and 3/4. We will be back. Much more to come.
Back here at the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. It's basically Dwight Stone's high jump palooza right now, and we're happy with that. 2 guys remaining, including the guy who's the NCAA and the SEC 2-time defending champ right there, Javon Harrison.
And he had a huge jump at his opening height of 6'11 and 3/4. And he would love to get out of this with the minimum amount of effort so he could focus on the long jump. So first attempt clearance for Javon Harrison at 7'1½". We're told that Dontavius Hill of Auburn, who just snuck over on his first attempt at 6'11 3/4, is passing the height. And that was a big hip height off the ground, but he just barely made the height on the back side. So you can see a little bit of support there for Harrison's knee. That's his takeoff foot for both the high jump and the long jump. So the bar will go to 2 meters 20 at 7'2½".
Harrison has a really unique arm action.
Yeah, he starts his arms very early. I'm not a fan of that because I like the arms to remain active the whole time. He kind of sweeps or gets them in position and sort of drops that energy. And then the pull is not always well timed. And he also goes pretty wide. Good lean, though. See how he just drops it? He prepares, then he drops. So the whole point of preparation, in my opinion, is lost.
It's like he does it one stride early.
Yeah, correct. You know, I got my arms off of, I'm an old straddle jumper from back in the day. And my coach said, listen, find a way to make those arms work quicker, and that'll determine how fast you can approach the bar. It's a simple plan, but it worked. Here is Hill for his first attempt at 7'2½". I'm not certain why he passed. See, that's active arms the whole way. Comes forward to prepare, come back, come forward. Watch the arms.
In sync with your running as well. And that's what with Harrison that's tough. And try to, you know, if people don't understand that, put your arms down by your sides and try to run.
Yeah.
It's just, you're not helping yourself there. So get in sync.
I always say, you know, the arms are the jockey, the legs are the horse. And that probably will do it.
Yep, I think we just saw the winner.
And if he wants to jump higher, fine, but he is busy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he stops right there.
About 2 strides out, I thought, oh, he's way out. He's not going to get there, but he's such a great athlete. He's so powerful and explosive, and he knows where he's at over the bar.
I think, you know, if I was his coach, I would move him up a little bit. I think that he's reaching a little bit at the end, which is death in the high jump, because that last 2 foot contacts, that last stride has to be shorter and quicker. That's how we get our hips over our jump foot. And that might be what Nick is telling him. Say, listen, you need to move it up a little bit. I'm surprised they're even considering him jumping anymore.
You got him. That, by the way, the guy on the left, their field coach, Todd Lane, he's either talking about that or he's talking about the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if that's where he's going to get the update, but those are the 2 things he will talk your ear off about. Might be saying, you know, do we think Aaron Rodgers needs more help? Or he could be talking about moving him up a little bit. Honestly, it's 50-50 which one of those 2 it was.
You know, the hardest part of this run-up, in my opinion, is that transition from the straight part to the curve part. That's the hardest part for these athletes to get, and it's the hardest part to coach. And it makes a huge difference on how successful the run-up is. A lot of people think it should be, a 10-set should be 5 in a straight line and 5 in a curve, and that's just not correct. There's some transition steps in the middle there that are critical to getting you in the right position. That was a much better second attempt for Hill at 2 meters 20, but I really think he's out of his depth here. This is a personal best by 2 centimeters, and he's jumping against a guy who's jumped 7'5 3/4.
Well, there's one make did put him into sole second position, so, you know, why not pass, take it up, and and see what you can do.
Absolutely.
Dwight, we were discussing guys in the U.S. that have the standard. Do you look at Javon Harrison and see 7.7 from him?
Yeah, I think that if he focused on the high jump, he could be a real good high jumper, but he's also a really good long jumper. But my fear is that he's just good enough at each of them to be like 6th or so at the trials. Whereas if he picked one over the other, he has a shot at making the team. So 3rd attempt coming up for Dontavius Hill of Auburn. He has 2 misses at 2 meters 20, 7.2.5. He passed 7.1.5 after clearing 6.11 3/4 with a slight brush on the way down on his very first attempt. So he is, if he goes out here, he has 2nd place wrapped up. 8 points for Auburn. And they get extra time when they just are down to 2. They get 3 minutes.
I think he's going to pass on his final attempt at this height.
And forced Harrison to jump. Well,
but if you're Harrison, you pass.
Or do you take the bait? Why do you take the bait?
So if he passes the 3rd attempt, is he passing it to the next height? If he does, he's still first up. So it's like when you don't really gauge your putt very well, still your turn.
You're still out.
That's still it. Yeah, he's still up.
Do you think Harrison's better than one of the other? Because when you're in college, right, a lot of that is, hey, we need points, so we're going to run you in both. And now if you're out on your own and you're a pro and you can decide one, do you think there's one that he should favor?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that his high jump technique needs quite a bit of work. And he, I believe, is a better technical long jumper, and he's a speed guy. So his speed is much better suited for the long jump. He'd have to become much more disciplined about position with the high jump, and he would need to work on his layout because he's got those long limbs and they're not very disciplined over the bar.
And if you ask any college athlete, you rarely find somebody who says, man, I just do one thing. You know, they want to do multiple things. Even people that pole vault, you know, you're coming out of high school as a hurdler and a pole vaulter, as a long jumper and a pole vaulter. And, you know, all of a sudden you get to college and you do one thing. It's like these long bus rides and trips across the country and for just one event kind of sometimes seems a little pointless. You get a little restless and you want to do more than just one event.
So the bar is now being raised to 7.3 3/4, 2 meters 23. Dontavius Hill has 2 misses at 7.2.5. He's passed his final attempt to this. He gets 1. That's it. It's a make or a miss. That's not a terrible attempt for a guy with a personal best of 7.1 3/4. It's kind of a gutsy move. You got to give him that. But he is out. He will finish 2nd, and now we will see if Javon Harrison just takes his victory and his clearance at 7.2.5 and prepares for the long jump, or if he's going to attempt this height. He is the next up in the order.
Trying to see if he's untying those shoes or lacing them up tighter. Yeah.
Taking them off. Yeah,
that might tell you right there.
That would be my advice. So the high jump, men's high jump concludes with Javon Harrison winning the competition at 2 meters 20, 7.2.5. Dontavius Hill of Auburn getting 2nd. So that's about the way we expected it to happen on paper. And they can now focus their attention. He and Mr. Gordon can focus their attention on the long jump.
ESPN coverage of the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships from Fayetteville, Arkansas, back on the air as you take a nice wide shot look at the Tyson Indoor Track Center. We are back and right into the long jump. John Anderson, Dwight Stones, Dan O'Brien.
That's Robbie Springfield of Kentucky, the junior. Oh, no, it's not. That's whose name is up on the board. It's Jesse Henderson from Mississippi State. And this is the first of 2 flights. They get 3 jumps, and then there'll be another flight. They'll get their 3 jumps, and the top 9 plus all ties for 9th will go into the finals for the final 3 jumps. Now they're jumping in the opposite direction that the pentathletes jumped yesterday. 23.6 for Springfield in his first attempt. And that's a foul. We're looking at the flag at the board that tells us that. And there's lots of people covering the board. We couldn't possibly see it from our vantage point.
That was Springfield there, correct? Yeah, that was in Springfield. Okay, so the first jumper.
Anthony Riley from Tennessee, a sophomore.
716, yes. And then that right there on that foul attempt should have been Springfield.
And with this newer surface, Dan and John, you guys were both talking about the $40 million refurb of this facility, which was already arguably the fastest track in the world. Probably some people in College Station would like to have that debate, but possibly this surface even faster than it used to be. And when you've got measured run-ups, that really is an adjustment.
And the flexible runways, these raised runways. We talked about the Mondo and what the athletes are jumping on down there in the high jump area. That's the sprint area, but these raised runways just produce so much speed. Every stride just gets a little bit bigger, and so those adjustments need to be made the day, 2 days before you actually get out there and compete. You want as much time on those runways as you absolutely can just to get a feel for them. I love the bouncy runways, though. You get the bouncy runways in New Mexico and Texas A&M and up in Seattle. But here in Arkansas, they are a must-have.
And you've got to know yourself as an athlete to know how much more to move back on meet day, because you're just a little bit more jacked and into it, and warm-ups went well. You know, how much do you move back? That's why I'm in favor of a sector for taking off, but so far nobody agrees with me. At least the powers that be don't.
Dwight,
So that's a fair jump.
You mentioned that the athletes are jumping just this one way. Part of that is due to the protocols. Usually they might use both runways, but we've got 2 flights here. This is the first flight. Then they'll bring out the second group, which then we'll see Javon Harrison again. We'll see Jamari Ward, twice an outdoor champion. So all the activity in this building has been altered to some degree, including the fact that we've got a men's matinee meet and the women compete later this evening.
This is Christian Lewis, the freshman from South Carolina. Comes into the competition with a seasonal best of 762. See how close Dwight can get in feet and inches. 762.
It's got to be 20, boy, just about 25 feet on the button, right?
You got it. You got it.
Wow. So the results app is updating a little slowly. Keyshawn Bird jumped 725, which is 23.9.5. That's a lifetime best for him on his first attempt. Christian Lewis of South Carolina only out to 682, which is 22.4.5. This is Ryan Brown. Good teammate support in the stands. And that's a foul. Of course, he has the advantage of working out on this facility every day at track practice. Knows the runway well. Carol Tilga of Georgia, the sophomore. First round flight, first flight of the men's long jump.
Tilga, one of the guys in the multi-event group at Georgia and asked the head coach why he didn't compete in the multis here. He said, Carell's one of the guys who, if you compete him too often, he gets banged up a little bit. So he wanted him to be as fresh as possible for the NCAA championships in 2 weeks' time.
Which in hindsight looks like a good decision as to see what happened to their fine heptathlete, decathlete, Jonas Erm yesterday, who got hurt.
Got confirmation this morning, too, that Johannes would not be ready for the NCAA Indoor Championships, that they were looking more towards the outdoor season for him and that injury.
James Bullock, we saw him in the high jump earlier from LSU, the freshman. And you can see from about 6 strides out, gauging what his distance to the board still looks like. Yeah, he shortened up the stride before the penultimate step to try and get on that board. So a foul for Bullock. Trey Causey, we saw him also in the high jump. There's quite a few of the high jumpers that have come over here to the long jump runway. Kentucky Junior's first attempt.
Well, one thing about the raised runways is you can definitely hear the tempo of the run, the tempo of the takeoff, and when that athlete slows down, you can just hear it, boom, boom. Those last few strides are very, very loud.
All right, most of the first flight through the first jump of 3. We'll be back with more long jump and running events coming up soon here in Fayetteville.
Sandy Morris, pole vaulter from Arkansas, Olympic silver medalist, here with Dwight Stones, Dan O'Brien. Don't know that, along with their Olympic medals, they have ever sung the national anthem, but terrific job by her. She's still out there competing. I think has the world best right now in the pole vault during the indoor season. And after all the field event coverage we've had early, the high jump, some of the multis, the long jump, we're finally going to put track and field, Dwight Stones. Let's get them out there for the mile.
Yes, sir, John. There in the men's mile, collegiate record just set by Cooper Tier of Oregon. The SEC championship record by Stephen Bolt of Alabama. There will be 2 heats of this men's mile. The first 3 finishers automatically qualifying to tomorrow's final, and then the 4 fastest non-automatic qualifying times. So it's a bit of an advantage to be in that second heat of the mile. You know what they've done, and you can kind of gauge your effort based on that.
Number of athletes in this competition could take down that SEC championship record, 359.4 by Stephen Boyd of Alabama. Waleed Suleiman being one of those athletes. An interesting mile last year, Dwight. The winning time was 4:14. This year, there are 4 guys at Ole Miss who can run better than 4 flat.
Well, that was sort of a jog for 6 laps and then a mad sprint over the last 400 meters that gave us that time. But it was certainly an exciting race to watch, at least the last less than a minute of it. And there are 11 competitors in each of these 2 heats. All the events on the track have been capped at 24, not more than 24 entries. So we'll see far fewer heats in the 400 and 200 than we normally do in non-COVID track world. There's Walid Suleiman, Ole Miss back there, and Ole Miss is looking to get a lot of their runners into the final here.
Suleiman ranked number 4 in the country, number 1 in the SEC. He clocked a 3:55.60 on February 12th in Vanderbilt. It was a new school record, but also in that race, he led 3 other rebels under the 4-minute mark.
Everett Smolders, his teammate, is also in this field. They're both seniors. There's Smolders.
He ran 3:58.73 that same day at Vanderbilt. 148, excuse me, for an 800-meter personal best. But this group of 4 Ole Miss athletes, we'll get to the other 2. Great running in distance medley relays this indoor season as well.
Well, Ole Miss probably the premier distance program in the conference, and that has been the case for some time now, even though their head coach, Connie Price Smith, a thrower, and they have very good throwers as well, but she has certainly, in her 6 years there, completely bought into the distance part of the program, and it's really paid dividends in the conference. It's able to stay in those little pods until they get past this turn, and then they'll all become one big pack. With that many Ole Miss runners, they really can sort of dictate the pace and really do some team running type tactics.
And we'll certainly see that on the women's side when Arkansas gets out front. They'll dictate the pace. They'll kind of block a little bit for the leaders. University of Oregon is so good at that as well, especially when they're home in Eugene at that outdoor venue.
Dalton Hengst, also of Ole Miss, the junior, currently setting the pace. That is John Bishop of A&M, the tall runner to the outside, just a freshman. I should say he's a senior, sorry. 3 Ole Miss runners right up in the top 4. Smolders now into the lead, and Suleiman marking him closely on the inside. Bishop, head and shoulders taller than everybody else in the field, sort of reminiscent of Paul McMullen back in the day. He was so much taller than everyone else when he would run.
Well, the way the schedule is set up this year, probably won't see athletes tripling up. The double will be more common this year just because of the schedule. Used to see athletes make a big run in the distance medley relay, come back in the mile, and then come back on that Saturday for the 3,000 meters. But tough to do that this year in back-to-back-to-back days.
Suleiman now taking the lead just before the half-mile mark, which they go by in about 2:06. So certainly not a demanding pace of any kind, but people with the good 800-meter speed are going to be in good shape over the last lap. Remember, the first 3 across the line automatically qualifying to tomorrow's final, and you would want to be those first 3, and I'm thinking Ole Miss is thinking the same thing. And then the next 4 fastest time over the 2 heats that were not automatic qualifiers. Suleiman, Smolders, Hengst of Ole Miss, then John Bishop of A&M. And the goal is to get through as cleanly as possible, expending as little energy as possible. Suleiman definitely picking up the pace. You can see how the field has now sprung out behind them.
That fourth Ole Miss runner we talked about, Mario Garcia Romo, we'll only see him in the 3,000 meters this weekend.
60-point 400-meter 2 laps, as Bishop now trying to get in to break up this Ole Miss trio. Runners in the second heat looking closely to see what the times are going to be to beat to get in as automatic qualifiers if need be. Suleiman at the bell with Smulders, then Bishop. Hengst is also there for Ole Miss, hanging in there. Now comes a mad dash for those 3 automatic spots. Suleiman checking out, making sure that everybody is where they need to be. Here comes Hengst, and it's going to be an Ole Miss sweep. They get all of them into the final, along with John Bishop being 4th. He'll have to sit back and wait to see what the times are in the second heat. 4:05.01 unofficially for Smulders as the winning time. But more importantly, that 4th place time, 4:05.47. That's the bubble for 4th. But here comes Suleiman. You can see how he just steps aside and makes it into a sweep.
Well, that was a great job by Dylan Allen from Kentucky there as well. Just outside of his personal best and seasonal best, 4:05.76. Nice tough running, staying with the leaders there. He didn't lose contact, gave himself a chance to sprint with everybody else, but that couldn't have gone more to plan for Ole Miss than that right there.
So there they are, all 3 Rebels getting automatically into tomorrow's final. Those are not the official results. Nobody ran under 4 minutes. But the bubble time is 4:09.11. That's the time you've got to be under if you want an automatic qualifying time into the final. So Ole Miss doing their job in the first heat. In fact, that does their job for the meet. They were all in one heat. There's Amon Kemboy of Arkansas, the senior from Kenya. He's run 3:58.26 this season in many meets that they've had here at Fayetteville. And Davis Bove of LSU, the other runner we are keying on. He's run 4:20 in that same race as Kemboy, running 3:58. Bove, just a sophomore at LSU.
Ranked number 10 in the country. And talking to Dennis Shaver, he said over the last couple of years, he's really made an effort to get a lot more balance in his team. When you would hardly ever see distance runners wearing that LSU uniform, mostly sprinters and jumpers. Now we are going to see some occasional distance runners.
So second of 2 heats of the men's mile semifinal. Once again, first 3 across the line automatically qualifying to tomorrow's final. Then the 4th fastest non-qualifying times over the 2 heats. Time to beat to get in on that automatic qualifying, 4:09.11. Which makes it a slight advantage for these athletes in the second heat. Mateo Barreto or Jace Jones, I can't quite tell. It's Jace Jones leading the pack right now, followed closely by Connor Hawkins of Tennessee and his teammate Alex Krieger, the senior from Tennessee. He was the 2019 SEC champion in the mile. So outrounder slowly. That is a 66-second opening 400 meters. So this is going to be about the automatic, about the automatic qualifiers, unless the pace picks up.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. The first group came through in about 64. These guys were 66, 67. You can, in that first 400, they don't want to run for the time. They want to run for those places.
So when the pace lags, you are giving it up to the runners that have the better 400 and 800 meter speed. You also have a situation where you can get in a lot of trouble where the pack bunches up, and we're seeing a lot of that right now as we have a breakaway, and that strings things out significantly. That is Amon Kemboi, who said, I've had enough of this stuff. This is a dangerous situation when the pack bunches up like that. He expended a lot of energy to get out there. Sort of a little bit fartlek run there for Kemboi. Obviously the class of this heat, having run 3:58 this year. He's exhorting his teammate to get up there with him. That's Andrew Kibet, also up Kenya, just a sophomore.
Well, there's Davis Bove. He made a move around Kemboi and kind of bumped him in the arm a little bit, and I think that's what spurred Kemboi on. But both athletes now making surges and then settling back into pace, trying to break up some of this bunch running.
And there was a little bit of a slip there. Stays on his feet. That takes a lot out of you, though, going at that speed. That was Wesley John of Georgia who managed to stay on his feet. Missed the half-mile time. That would have been a decent indicator of how much things had moved up, but they seem to be about 4 seconds off of the first heat pace. That doesn't matter to the people who finish in the top 3, but it certainly matters to the ones that finish after that. Let's get the 3/4 time. Just about 3:10 for Kemboi. So the people behind him are going to really have to get their kick together to try and get into that 4:09 automatic qualifying time. Kemboi looking very comfortable out there in the lead. Has about 5 meters on Bove. And at the bell, 3:38 for Kemboi. Bove is there. Kibet is there. Kemboi stretching it out. Hunter Hawkins of Tennessee trying to get flight. Then Bove ends up getting off the track. He wants to make sure he's in that top 3. He's coming back, but Hawkins has a good head of steam, but Bove recovers. So it's Kemboi, Kibet, and Bove are your automatic qualifiers. 4:07:41. That means Hawkins is going to get in on time, but I'm not certain if anybody after him from this heat will come through, which is good news for the 4th, 5th, and 6th placers from the first heat.
Well, Davis Bove did run on the inside of that track. Here's Kemboi. He got bumped a little bit, and I think he just decided he was going to jump up front and stay out of trouble. We'll get back to that last lap here. With about 50 meters to go, Bove in the purple uniform on the inside gets cut off pretty good, and he takes one step on the inside for sure. Only one step on the inside. I do see a yellow flag, so there will be some kind of a ruling on this, but he had to regain his composure and have a sprint finish to the end here, but easy qualifiers for the 2 Arkansas runners up front.
So we'll await the outcome of whatever protests might occur with regard to Davis Bove of LSU, but the 2 Arkansas runners are through, and we'll give you a list of qualifiers to the final, or tomorrow's final, when we return to Arkansas for a lot more running.
It's the 2021 SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships from Fayetteville, Arkansas, Randall Tyson Track Center. Take a look at the results from Heat 2 of the men's mile. A couple of Razorbacks through. Amon Kemboi, Andrew Kibet, Davis Bove right there. Still not official, under review for what happened in that last curve, but the meet does not slow down for that. We move right into the men's hurdles. And Dwight, just real quick, because he's one of our favorites and he just dropped a 7:29 on the world. Grant Holloway not here, but worth mentioning as we get ready.
He certainly is the collegiate record holder from his junior season, his last season at Florida, as well as the meet record. He ran a world record in Madrid, Spain of 7:29 this last week. But we are here at the SEC meet, and this is Damian Thomas of LSU, the senior from Jamaica. He will be starting out of lane 3. Remember, here at the Tyson Center, we go from right to left for the straightaway sprints. And then out in lane 8, Filip Dimsar of South Carolina from Slovenia, just a sophomore.
Damian Thomas there on the inside, the under-20 world champion, clear back in 2018. He's a clear back in 2018. The world record holder over 39-inch hurdles, 20 years old and under. He has definitely come as advertised. We got a chance to see him early on in his career, Dwight, at those Texas relays. And he's just gotten better and better, and we'll see his training partner in the next heat. But it's LSU, the leaders of the conference in this particular event.
Lane 1 will be open. Thomas in lane 3, so second from your right. And then Philippe Demsar of South Carolina on the far left. Winner of the heat automatically qualifies to tomorrow's final, and then the next 6 fastest times over the 2 heats. Stephen Torrence of South Carolina puts his hand up. Very smart for you high schoolers. If you don't feel right, blocks don't feel solid, or you just don't feel comfortable, much better just put your hand up instead of trying to fix it and possibly get a false start. As we know, false starts across the board from high school all the way through the Olympics, one and done. So his starting block doesn't seem to be contacting the track the way he likes it. So he's a reset or get a new set of blocks.
Athletes use 1/4-inch spikes to race in on the Mondo surfacing. I think high jumpers get a little bit longer, but 1/4-inch usually the norm. But longer than 1/4-inch you'll find on the blocks themselves so that they can stay anchored. But those spikes on the blocks, you know, they can get dull, they can fall out. You got any slippage in the blocks at all, boy, it's everybody else is going to leave you, and you're going to wonder, you know, you're going to wonder what happened because you went backwards and everybody else went forwards.
I think they prefer that we don't go over 9 millimeters for spikes on the Mondo surface, which is just a touch under 3/8 of an inch. All right, they are ready to get to their marks again. Thomas in the purple of LSU, second from the right. Demsar of South Carolina on the far left. Only the winner automatically qualifying to the final. And Thomas stands right up out of the blocks. Not a great start for him. Torrence is there, but it is Damian Thomas, the automatic qualifier in tomorrow's final, unofficially 7.68. Jesse Henderson picking up second place, but well back. Then Philippe Demsar, third.
There you see Thomas, second from the left in the purple. Didn't get the best start, but he does a really good job of staying patient and just running his race. After he just nips that first hurdle, he's absolutely clean the rest of the way. He's going 7 strides to the first hurdle, so you've got to be patient. As you see Torrence to his right, our left, bail out there. Nice job by Damian Thomas. And one of the keys in hurdling is stay in your own bubble. Don't worry about what's going on the left. Don't worry about what's going on to the right. And 7.68, a nice solid time for him, seeing that his personal best is 7.66.
Yeah, taking 7 steps to this first hurdle to just stand up out of the blocks. That makes your job even harder. But he managed it. Of course, that is what being a veteran does for you. Even in a 60-meter race, which seems to be over in a blink, those with experience always do better if they get into a little bit of trouble. So Thomas winning that first heat. And we will see what happens after the second heat as to who will advance. This heat featuring Eric Edwards Jr. of LSU, 21 years old. He was second at this meet last year.
His teammate who we saw just run was third last year, but Eric Edwards Jr., a transfer from Oregon. But he was a Pan Am Junior champ 2017, 2019, and when asked why he left the University of Oregon, he said, you know, I want to go someplace where there's more hurdlers. And he knew he was going to find him in the Southeast Conference, and he's certainly been giving everybody a run for his money. There's Philip Lemonius from Arkansas, 772 personal best this season. From Jamaica, Barton County Junior College. He was the 2019 5th place at the Jamaican Championships, but the 2020 National Junior College champion. Also a long hurdler, 400-meter hurdles, at a 51-second guy.
Here's how they will line up. Again, lane 1 will be open. Lemonius in 3. Edwards out on the outside in lane 8.
Edwards, I'm sure, doesn't love that outside lane, but I always did, because it only gave me trouble on one side. I mean, you know, and in a prelim, in a qualifying round, there's nothing wrong with being on the outside, but in the final, those athletes want to be in the mix. They think all the fast racing goes on in the middle of the track.
Second at this meet last year was Edwards, a junior at LSU.
Carl Elliott from Arkansas in the middle, lane 4, has had a couple of good races. He was second at the Razorback Invitational in the first part of the month.
Edwards comes in with a 761 lifetime best from 2020. So Lemonius second from the right on your screen, lane 3. Then Edwards in the purple all the way out on the left in lane 8. And Edwards with a good reaction out in the outside. Lemonius trying to make up some room. Now Edwards starting to get beat. Yes, he is not going to win the heat. It is Lemonius, very, very strong over the last 2 hurdles. He will win the heat and automatically qualify to tomorrow's final. Edwards ends up 3rd. Trebien Gilbert of Arkansas, so it was a Arkansas sweep.
Well, it looked like the racing was going on the left side of your screen, but here, second from the right, Lemonius really powers through those last 3 hurdles for a personal best of 768. Eric Edwards just a little bit more cleaner hurdler than his teammate, Damian Thomas, but he just didn't get snappy on those last 2 hurdles. They snuck up on him from behind there. Nice run by Lemonius. Big, strong, powerful guy.
3 Razorbacks in that heat, 2 of them going 1-2. Lemonius getting the automatic qualifier. So back with much more from Arkansas when we return the men's 400 meters on the track next.
Take a look at the heat winners. The men's 60-meter hurdles. Only guaranteed spots coming across the line first in that one. Damian Thomas. LSU, 768, second heat, same number, 768, Philip Lemonius. Just getting here, he just got eligible a couple of weeks ago, so he's still kind of a novice runner here in terms of competition so far this season. Going to stretch it out, take away the barriers, run the 400, Dwight and Dan.
All right, John, first of 6 heats. We saw that collegiate record being set by Michael Norman of USC 3 years ago. Karani James, Olympic champion from London, with the meet record. There's Elijah Goodwin. He will start out of lane 5. That would be considered the preferred lane here at the Randall Tyson Track Center.
Only Bryce Dedman of Texas A&M has run faster this season. And he is the training partner of Matthew Bowling, who we'll see in the 200 meters a little bit later. But you got to figure those 2 running together make for great training partners.
They never put people in lanes 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 are still pretty tight. It's not where you'd like to be drawn. The more preferred lanes 5 and 6. So they'll run 3/4 of the lap in their lane and then break for the pole, and getting that pole position so very important, but how much energy you have to expend to get it, that is the key. Therein lies the rub. So from the inside, Davis of Florida, Brown of Arkansas, Goodwin, Georgia, and then Villamon of Florida. And Jalen Brown out hard in that lane 4, wants that pole position, runs on this track all the time in practice, and here comes Goodwin. He says, you're not going to get the pole. Goodwin working really hard. Remember, it's all on times. It's the top 8 times over these 6 heats that get you into the finals, so you really just can't dog it. Goodwin looks like he's been tying up the whole second lap, but he holds on. 46.01 unofficially. And corrected to 46.03 for Goodwin, so he establishes a very solid time.
Well, one of the interesting obstacles athletes need to face is starting up there on that high turn. Elijah Godwin, he really goes out hard here. I expected a faster time because he was really pushing hard in that first 200 meters. He paid the price coming home. But last year we saw a lot of guys in the later heats just not run very fast, even though they knew the times to beat. So I think Elijah Godwin really wanted to put a nice number out there to give everybody else something to chase after. I would have expected a 45 in the front of that because he worked really, really hard to run that.
I don't think we'll see too many more times better than that out of the remaining heats, but you never know. 46.03 for Goodwin. Ian Davis from lane 3 ended up running the second fastest time in that heat, 46.88. So heat 2 of 6. And you've got to love this name for an athlete in any sport. Champion Allison of Alabama, the senior.
I wished my parents would have named me champion.
No pressure from the parents, right?
Well, this young man didn't make the finals last year, but got second at the Tyson Invitational this year from Dallas, Texas. Strong improvement this year, cracked 46 seconds for the first time this season, and that is a big barrier in this event.
2 Alabama athletes in this heat. Allison with his teammate Joshua St. Clair out on the outside in lane 6. But this is Jacob Smith, the junior from Kentucky. He'll be in lane 5.
Steady improver from last season, but we'll see him run. He's more of a 200-meter guy outdoors, a relay 4x1 guy, and a 200-meter guy outdoors.
So Allison with a little bit of a tough draw in lane 4, has to work a little harder in those first 2 turns. From the inside, Daniels of Mississippi State, then Allison in 4, Smith in 5, St. Clair in 6. And Allison looking strong early now up the hill. Now they're going for the pole position, and Jacob Smith is not going to give it up easily, but he has to Allison. 21.32 for the first 200.
Well, that was a good move by Champion there on the inside. He was not going to give up that position. He could have backed off and let him go around him, but he held him off, and now he's going to make him work this last 75 meters.
And now Smith has a target to shoot for. Allison leading, but here comes Smith. Remember, it's not the winner, it's the time. 46.36 unofficially for Champion Allison. And that is the official time as well.
This is smart running by Champion Allison here on the as they make the cut in right in front of us at start finish line. He made Smith move to the outside and assume that second position. And he shows good tempo, good rhythm. And I don't mind the open hand. Open your hand so you can see what your arm swing is looking like down there. But great effort. You want to get into the finals. You're not going to cruise by in the 400 and 200 at this meet. You have got to run hard, lay it out there, know you're going to get the recovery to be able to come back tomorrow.
And it's official. Champion Allison with 46.36. Jacob Smith of Kentucky with 46.61, with a good chance of getting into the final. So the athletes getting their final trips around the curve before they get it into position for heat number 3 of 6 here in the 400. And we already have a scratch out in lane 6. Sean Squirrel Burrell of LSU, the 19-year-old freshman who's run 45.57 this year, is a scratch.
That's Rasheem Griffith. He'll run from lane 3. But we got a shot of James Milholland out there in lane 5. Exciting for him to be here, just 25 miles from where he went to high school. He's shown a lot of improvement this year, as a personal best this season of 46.71. It's too bad the family can't step in and watch this kid run.
Next year, we hope. So lane 6 is empty with the scratch of Sean Burrell. So on the inside, Rasheem Griffith with the lane 3 draw from Barbados. Jackson Junkins of South Carolina, then James Milholland. If you're coming back in another event, you just hate to have to go all out in the 400, but that's what it's going to take for these guys to get into the final. Rasheem Griffith looking pretty easy there in lane 3, made it around pretty easily, but Milholland gets the pole. 21.97 for the first 200. Got a lot of work to do. Got to get under 47 if you got any chance of getting into the final here. This is a conference of sprinters and 400-meter runners. Milholland digging hard for the finish line. 46.57 unofficially. That should be good enough to get him into the final.
Well, he gave a great effort, and that's his best time ever. But you could see that he was able to use his knowledge of this track. He was out there in lane 5. Might have even looked like he got beat to the cut-in point, but he was able to take a nice angled approach, come out in that pole position on that second lap, and he gave it everything he had. Got to be happy with the time. We'll just see if it's enough.
Always happy with the lifetime best. That's what the whole point of these events are. Put yourself in position to get into the final and score points. So it's official, 46.59 for James Milholland in the win for Arkansas. Jackson Junkins of South Carolina second. Rasheem Griffith, that lane 3 draw and that hard first 200 really took it out of him. So heat 4 of 6. And this heat features an SEC veteran in Dwight St. Hilaire, Trinidad and Tobago, 23-year-old senior. Has run 45.64 this season. So he's in top form for him. Always a reliable relay runner for the Wildcats. He'll be out in lane 6. And it looks like, now here he comes. He's taking his time getting back in lane 5. Jonathan Martin of Alabama taking his time. He'll start in lane 5. Bailey Rogers of South Carolina in 3, and his teammate William Spencer Jr. of the Gamecocks in 4.
You ran all the way out there to get a nice warm-up, and don't come back to the blocks till you're warmed up. They'll wait for you to start this race.
So the one disadvantage to lane 6 is that you don't have anybody to key off of. Your goal, never see your competitors until after the finish line.
Hilaire, though, so much experience.
On times, there's nobody within a second and a quarter of Hilaire in terms of personal bests in this heat.
Well, Jonathan Martin certainly taking his time, took his time walking back, took his time getting into the blocks, and I don't think everybody could hear the set command there. Some people came up, some guys didn't.
Well, he's a freshman at Alabama. This is his first championship event at the collegiate level. And Dwight St. Hilaire should just be gone from the gun, and there he goes. So this basically becomes a time trial for him. Now he gets that nice slingshot out of lane 6, past the cone and into the pole. 21:26 for the first 200. Good solid time. He's very good at running these boards. Leans in nicely into that tight turn in lane 1. Spencer trying to give chase, but there's just too much room to make up. St. Hilaire lifting into the finish. Comes across unofficially 46:03. That's equal to the best time run so far today. Let's see how it corrects.
St. Hilaire, he just has such effortless execution here. He sets himself up really nicely for the last 100. See how he just holds it together. He knows it's a time trial. The tendency for a guy that far out ahead, though, is to back off. And because these are time trials, you just got to keep pushing all the way through the line. But he just really was able to accelerate down that in that first 50 meters away from the rest of this field and just leave himself alone out in front. He's going to be a tough guy to beat in the finals.
So he runs just 0.02 of a second off of Elijah Goodwin's first heat time. 46:05, good and solid. Puts him in the final where he wants to be. He'll have a good lane draw in the final. And you could tell he had a little bit more in the tank. So now heat number 5 of 6. Here's Noah Williams, the junior from LSU, who has a 45:47 lifetime best from earlier this month, right here at the Tyson Invitational.
5-time Mid-American champion while he was at Akron University.
Let me correct that, looking at the wrong line. The Charlie Thomas Invitational at College Station, the other fastest track in the world.
So it was interesting last year, Noah Williams, even though NCAA championships got canceled, Noah Williams had an opportunity to run at the U.S. Indoor Championships in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he was 5th place in that race. So some good racing experience there. Ryan Wiley goes in the outside. Young man from the Bullis School in Maryland. They've been producing great track and field athletes for quite some time. Track rival IMG.
So Williams had a little bit of an unfortunate lane draw there in lane 4. Let's see how he manages it. Right now, the 5th fastest time is 46.61, so you probably need to be under 47 to get into the final. Brunsman on the inside from Missouri, then Williams of LSU, who is out like a shot, already made up the stagger on Jake Lanier of Texas A&M.
That's how you manage the bad lane draw. You just push out at the beginning, pass everybody, give yourself a chance to run free and clear.
His 200 split 21.09, the fastest we've seen so far. Now let's see what it took out of him. Ryan Willey of Florida, the 18-year-old freshman, giving chase. Here's his first conference championship. Our statistician Kevin Saylor says the bubble time is 47.04. And Willey has not given up. In fact, he's going to win the heat. Williams just phoning it in at the end. It is on time, not on place. 45.76 unofficially for Willey. Maybe Williams knew, hey, I'm running fast enough to make this final, but you're not going to have a great lane draw, but you probably did run fast enough to make the final. In fact, for certain, 46.23 for Williams. But what an effort by the freshman from Florida.
Well, Noah Williams did a great job of getting out early, setting the pace for himself. He knew it was going to be a hard last 100. But I want to know what got into the freshman from Florida. Personal best, 45.76. Welcome to the SEC, Ryan Willey. Mike Holloway's got to be pleased with the way that young man has come to his first championship.
And Coach Holloway says that's why I recruited him. Willey with a 45.76. I think for us unexpected or unforeseen, but maybe not for Coach Holloway. Noah Williams just kind of cruised in at the end because he felt like he had a fast enough time to qualify, and at 46.23 he actually will end up with a decent lane draw, but that just probably dropped the bubble under 47 seconds. And let's see what that freshman does tomorrow. How much did that take out of him? But a heck of a run for the youngster from Florida. There's Bryce Deadman. Talk about a veteran from A&M. Great relay runner for the Aggies. The defending champion at this distance. And he's out there in lane 6.
Got a chance to listen to him on a Zoom conference the other day, and he says he expects some really fast times, but he loves the challenge. He loves competing with himself, not only in the sport of track and field, but also other areas of life. Very disciplined young man, comes in with the fastest time in the conference, 45.22.
So the bubble time has moved down to 46.88. You've got to run faster than that to make it into this final, in this final heat of 6 in the men's 400. Deadman on the outside. Edward Richardson of South Carolina on his inside. And Leander Forbes of Alabama with a 46.31 could contend. So Deadman out there in lane 6 running blind. Sets a good target for the rest of the quarter milers in this field. He's run on this track many, many times. He also has a very fast track down in College Station where he gets to practice. So Deadman threw in 21.45. Now's where the strength kicks in.
Oh, he looked fantastic in that first 200 meters. Let's see how he can hold up over the last 100.
Leander Forbes trying to give chase and doing a good job of it. And Deadman cruises across at 45.91, and Leander Forbes right there. He's going to qualify through till the final. Officially for Deadman, 45.93, so that's the second fastest time run in these 400-meter heats.
Well, that's just the experience of Bryce Deadman. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get through to the final. Just hit it perfectly. 21.45 in the first 200 meters. And a guy who knows pace is a guy who runs a very good 400 meters. Leander Forbes, nice job, young man. He's a 600-meter junior college champ. coming into the SEC, doing a good job making it into his final.
Well, it took 46-61 to make the final here. Not unusual for the SEC. Back with much more when we return to Fayette.
Here are your thoroughbreds, the guys that are through to the men's final in the 400 meters. And if you do that in the SEC, you got plenty of game to be sure. As Dwight said, 46-61 is what it took to make the final there, led by freshman from Florida, Ryan Willey. Mouse Holloway always seems to have guys that can run the one lapper. Now we're going to run the short one, 60 meters, 6 seconds, 6.5, we're done.
All right, John, world champion Christian Coleman with the collegiate record of 6:45. Leonard Scott still has the meet record. And it was 46.59, I was corrected by Kevin Saylor, was the 8th and final qualifying position in the 400 meters. Not unusual in this conference. There will be 3 heats of this men's 60 meters. There is Chris Hari of Arkansas, also from Denmark, the 23-year-old senior. Only the winner of these heats and then the next 5 fastest non-qualifiers will make it through to tomorrow's final. We have a scratch in lane 6 from Florida and Nigeria, Raymond Ikebwo.
Last year's champion, not here, but there in lane 5. We get a look at Christopher Grant, a junior from Jamaica. He's run 6:64. He was 3rd at these championships last year.
So Hari will be 2nd from the right. Remember here at the Tyson Center, they run the straightaway sprints from right to left. And you can see that open lane 6. Good start by Hari, stays down nicely. Now lifting into the finish line. It is going to be Hari, or is it going to be Jason Reese? I should say Christopher Grant of Auburn. Auburn's Christopher Grant, 6:74. He is the winner of the heat by 100th of a second.
Yeah, Christopher Hari did have a good start, made a nice transition to upright running. Christopher Grant as well, really solid. Guys had nice reaction to the gun. And it took everybody just a little bit to really get going. But these athletes, you have to remember, they have to plan for the finish line. And we've seen some people take a tumble, get hurt, because once you hit that finish line, you've got about 10 meters, and then the track goes up. So when you cross that line, if your head is down, you better pick it up, because the track begins to slope right there.
Grant, the junior from Jamaica, winner of the heat, 3rd at this meet last year, and took his measure of Christopher Hari, who will likely qualify through with that time. Being 2nd place, he will absolutely qualify with 6:75. Well, it's not absolutely. We could have a whole bunch of guys run really, really fast, and he'd be out, because only the winner automatically qualifies. So we'll have to take a look and see that as we get ready for the 2nd heat. This is Dante Brown of Auburn. He'll be starting out of lane 6. Just a junior at Auburn, running his personal best a couple of weeks ago at the Carolina Indoor Opener, 6.66.
Next to him in lane 7, Diedrich Vanover, just a junior at Florida. 6:71 earlier this season.
So open lanes in lane 1 and lane 8. This is a lane assignment for a different race. So the two athletes with the best times on the outside. It is Brown of Auburn in lane 6, second from the left, and Vanover of Florida on the left. And there is the correct lane assignments for this heat. The two we're looking at in 6 and 7.
Emmanuel Yeboah in lane 4, somebody to keep an eye out as well. 23-year-old from Texas A&M by way of Ghana.
His personal best from 2 years ago of 6:58. Superior to everybody here, but it's been a couple of years since he's run that time. Good start by Vanover on the outside, but now Brown picks it up, and he is gone. It is Dante Brown of Auburn who's going to win the heat easily, and then takes a very tough tumble. And he just got through saying how you really got to be paying attention when that track goes up. Brown 6.62 with the win.
Brown was in the zone. He really got a fantastic start. Makes that transition into upright running. He crossed the line and he knew it was a good one. 6.62, that's a personal best for him. Beganda. That's some great separation, but you see there, you're going so fast. You have got to plan for that rise in the track, and if you don't, try to put your feet down, and you got steps there right in front of you. Nice run for that young man, Dante Brown.
He wins it with the fastest time run so far, 6.62. Dedrick Vanover right there at 6.71, and Emmanuel Yeboah of A&M third with 6.77. Third and final heat of the 60 meters. They're getting their blocks ready. Lane 8 also open in this race. Lance Lang of Kentucky, second at this race last year. He will be on the far right of your screen, lane 2.
Well, and this is a young man who I think was really ready to have a breakout year had it not been for all the cancellations. He had a great indoor season. He talks about wanting to go to Kentucky so that he could train with those great post-collegiate athletes, people that were going pro like Daniel Roberts. Coach Tim Hall was a guy who, he said, brought him there.
In the middle of the track, Arkansas senior Roman Turner, who's run 6.66 this year as well.
We'll see Turner in the 200 meters at the end of the program tonight, or this afternoon.
Josephat Bula of Florida, we will also see in the 200. A lot of these sprinters will double back in that 200 because it's the last distance of the evening.
But Florida, very young team, lots of sophomores, lots of freshmen, faces that we haven't seen before.
Nice. So right now, 6:79 is the bubble time for getting in on an automatic qualifier. So you got to run.
The starter's very deliberate. Nice solid hold. He's not giving anybody an idea on, not giving anybody a chance to guess at this. Everybody's doing a great job at these championships, but just wait for the gun. Not too long and not too quick either.
Lang from Kentucky in 2 on the right side of your screen. Turner of Arkansas in the middle in the crimson. Van Bula of Florida in the black in lane 5. Van Bula out too soon.
It's my fault. I said it.
Well, he has a 200 to run later. not much to guess at on that one. Pretty easy to see.
Well, there's Fambulla right there. And he not only flinched, he left his blocks pretty much before everybody else did. No question about that. He'll get a nice lecture from coach, but have to reset for another race down the road.
So now lanes 1, 5, and 8 are open. Still expect the race to be between lane 2 and lane 4. Lang of Kentucky, Turner of Arkansas. And a good reaction by Turner, Roman Turner in the middle of the track, but here comes Lance Lang. It's going to be Lang. Followed very closely by Roman Turner, but Lang will get the automatic qualifier. Oh, they're giving it to Turner. I'm surprised. But we are at about the 20-meter mark from right to left. So the angle made it look like Lang had the advantage, but he does not. Turner gets through on an automatic, but Lance Lang's 671 gets him into the final.
Lance Lang with a fantastic start, but he stumbled about the 4th or 5th stride out. He had to readjust his steps. Otherwise, I think he's the clear winner there. You see him on the far right. Turner on the left in red. But a nice run by both athletes. Good adjustment by Lang, though. Boy, he just got out so powerfully. Really quick. That 4th and 5th step just came up a little bit short.
So Turner automatically qualifies through. Lang gets through on time. So that is the end of the fastest guys. We'll be back with more lap running when we return.
So you look at the finalists that advance to tomorrow in the men's 60 meters here at the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. You got 2 Auburn Tigers, 2 Hogs, 2 Gators. We got 2 in the booth with Dan and Dwight. That's 1 fewer than usual. I want to take this time to tell everybody that because of protocols, you are not getting some of the voices you're used to hear on this broadcast, whether it's Jill Montgomery or Lara Overton, Larry Rawson. Certainly they're healthy and fine. Just no space for them here under the rules. We miss them. We know they're watching and look forward to having them back on future broadcasts. Dwight?
All right, John, now it's time for the men's 800. There will be 3 preliminary heats. Paul Ehring, the 1988 Olympic champion, still holds the collegiate record. And there is Brandon Miller of A&M, just a freshman, which means he didn't do much running as a high school senior. And then from Missouri, shout out to John from Mizzou, Christopher Conrad, the junior. Protocol for qualifying to finals here in the 800 is the first 2 finishers automatically qualifying, and then just the next 2 fastest times over the 3 heats. They're looking for an 8-runner final. They'll stay on those groups through the first 2 turns and then cut for the pole in the straightaway, the finishing straight. 8 runners in these heats. Said earlier that they've capped the entries at 24 for the running events. And we have the full complement here in the 800.
That's Brandon Miller up front. And, you know, actually, Dwight, he was a prodigy as a young runner, 149 at age 15. It's just interesting how those young guys show up at Texas A&M. You know, we've got a young lady to talk about certainly later at Texas A&M, Athing Mo, but man, they base their program on those 400-meter, 800-meter athletes and really build that program from those middle distances out.
Those are the workhorses on your team. Miller threw in 54.4, being marked by Angus Beer of Missouri and Alex Kay of Tennessee. Caleb Kavanaugh of Georgia also there in the mix. Remember, first 2 across the line automatically qualifying to tomorrow's final. And you really can't dog it here because you only 2 only 2 time qualifiers getting through at the bell. about 123. Miller continuing to lead. He's done all the work out there. Now Alex Kay of Tennessee trying to go wide. Better do it now. And he gets through before the turn. So it's Kay followed by Miller. Those are the ones who want to get across the line first and automatically qualify, not have to worry about time. And here comes Conrad of Missouri finishing third. 150.27 unofficially, corrected to 150.26 for Miller. Then Kay just 7 ticks behind at 150.33.
Well, Brandon Miller really set himself up for a hard last 200 meters by leading this entire run. And you see Alex Kay move up on the outside. He does a good job of clearing before he moves down into lane 1. It only slowed Brandon Miller down a little bit, but Brandon Miller, when he comes off this turn, he does a nice job. He moves to the outside of lane 1, so if anybody's gonna try to pass him, they've got to go farther around the two of them. Conrad left it late, and we'll see if it's enough to get him into the final.
That's the agony for that third placer. He's got to wait through 2 more heats to see if his time will hold up. But the freshman winning that first heat, his first SEC championship opportunity. He knows for certain he's running a race tomorrow. On to heat number 2. As we take a look at the results real quick, it was Brandon Miller of A&M winning it, closely followed by Alex Kay of Tennessee, and then Christopher Conrad, who has to agonize over the next couple of races to see if his time will advance him to the final. Alon Clay of A&M, another freshman from Japan. So 2 freshman 800-meter runners for Pat Henry down in College Station, and then Baylor Franklin of Ole Miss, the junior.
Franklin currently ranked 13th in the nation in the 800, 4th in the SEC. This is a really intriguing race, Dwight. We talk about some fast guys and some other races. There's a lot of guys in that 148 mid here this season who I don't think have run their best. And so, you know, when I look at the 800, it's like it's going to be an interesting race because you got a lot of guys just kind of clumped right in that 148 mid. Keep an eye on Alon Clay, though. Tsunami Alon Clay, the freshman at Texas A&M, Japanese high school record holder. This kid ran faster than Donovan Brazier did when he was in high school. Fastest freshman in the nation. They're leading that second pack.
Group of 5 on the inside, group of 3 on the outside. They stay in those groups until they get through the second turn, and then they can drop in for pole position. And we got a breakaway here. Leon Clark of Mississippi State and Jamaica is out there running his own race. And the peloton is not yet taking the bait. Clark comes in with a 155.95 lifetime best and goes out in 51 low.
That's where the pros want to be on lap 1. We'll see how he can finish this.
Well, that gap is not really closed much, so the other 7 are saying, well, maybe we ought to start to pull him in.
Well, here comes that second group now. They're starting to put some tempo into their runs.
That's Clay Pender of Georgia there in second place. And Alon Clay of A&M. This is going to be interesting, the way it's shaping up. Brady Shilflet of Alabama is there. Baylor Franklin now getting in it. It's going to be quite the crash for those 2 spots, those 2 automatic spots.
Wow.
So it's Franklin for sure. And Grady Shiflett of Bama. I saw him coming on the outside, and he ran a very smart last 150 meters.
Well, Leon Clark had to know that this lead was going to get closed down. He's just nothing but fumes here with about 150 meters to go, and this group's closing on him. Franklin did a really good job of measuring this race. He moved to the outside. He went with Clay, just biding his time, biding his time. And you can see in Clay's eyes here, he's beginning to hurt as everybody goes around. As everybody goes around him. Oh, Clark, that's a tough finish right there, but really a blanket finish. Nice job by Franklin, though, just getting the top spot.
Well, for his effort, Leon Clark was rewarded with a huge personal best. He ran 1:51.50 and basically just walked across the line. So, you know, who's to say he didn't do the right thing for him? Came to the SEC Championships, led for 7/8 of the race, and got a personal best. Baylor Franklin winning it with 1:50.10. Grady Shiflett of Alabama, who came from way back, just nips that second spot. And Hayden Cobb, that's probably fast enough to qualify, but they got to wait to see what happens in this final heat, which is the advantage for being in the final heat. You at least know what happened before you. And if you're not going to finish in the top two, you just got to make sure you run fast enough to be faster than the other guys who didn't run fast enough to be in automatic qualifiers. Kieran Taylor of Arkansas, a senior, ran his lifetime best this indoor season.
And there's John Rivera, the junior from Ole Miss, by way of Puerto Rico. 1:48.13 is a personal best this season. He's the top returner from last year's championship. Top three guys are out of the conference. He's your top returner. He was fourth last year.
So the bubble time 1:50.29, and that time by Alon Clay of Texas A&M, the freshman from Japan. He has to hope that the third placer in this race does not run faster than that, so that he gets a chance to run the final.
John Rivera looks like he's wants to push the pace just a little bit. 25.71 for the first 200. Look for these guys to come through in about 53.54.
Navasky Anderson of Mississippi State, the teammate of Leon Clark, right in there in second place. Cade Bethman of Ole Miss, currently in third. Ole Miss looking to get their guys through. The middle distance juggernaut of the SEC.
Three guys through in the mile. We'll see how many they can get through in the 800. 52.5 at the 400-meter mark.
Kieran Taylor now into third. Marking on Navasky Anderson, wants to make certain that he gets closer to John Rivera and nab that second automatic qualifying spot.
Well, the confidence here by Rivera, taking this race out from the beginning. Just run this thing start to finish.
Smart running by Kieran Taylor to get himself into that second spot. He looks back to make certain he's good. Nobody coming. Rivera will win it. Taylor second. They're automatically into the final. And a quickest of the three heats may mean the third placer has a shot at making it through on time. That is exactly what's going to happen. And Navasky Anderson with a big lifetime best will make it through into the final.
I really thought Kieran Taylor measured this well. And he got to the point, 50 meters to go. He took a look around and said, you know what, I'm in good shape right here. He probably could have even passed Rivera, but said, I'm in good shape here, and he didn't look distressed at all. Rivera did all the tough running up front.
So Rivera making it look easy, wasn't able to get his teammate into the final. Bethman finishing last in that heat, but Navasky Anderson of Mississippi State with a 2.5-second lifetime best makes it through on time, along with Kieran Taylor, who really showed that he knows how to run these, or this track, I should say, at the Tyson Center. I was going to say these boards, but they aren't really boards anymore like they used to be.
There's probably some wood under there somewhere.
Yeah. All right, the 800 meters are in the books, and we'll come back and run the men's 5,000 meter final when we return.
Men's 800 meter finalists through into Saturday here at the SEC Indoor Championships. A couple from Ole Miss. Kieran Taylor, as you guys know, I like the mustaches, so Taylor and Baylor Franklin, very big. But those are two lappers. Anybody got 25 laps in them? Dwight? Dan?
I'll pass.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about it. It took 150.14 to get into the 800, by the way, and the young freshman from Japan just barely misses it. Lawila Lang with the collegiate record in the 5,000, and Alistair Craig of Arkansas with the meet record. No less than 24 athletes. That's the limit here in the 5,000 and in every running race. Gilbert Boyd of Arkansas, the 26-year-old now, senior from Kenya. Look, Arkansas looking to get a lot of points in this race. Out in lane 15, Jacob McLeod, the junior from Arkansas, also in this race.
Third ranked in the SEC, transfer from Belmont University. That outside section, I don't think everybody can stand inside the cone and the outside there.
6 Arkansas runners in this 5,000, so they have 25% of the field.
Well, and this is how Arkansas is going to get you in the team race. They're going to score a bunch of points here, and especially on the women's side. They will just get 3 or 4 of those ladies out front and just pound you for all of those points.
And it also gives you the opportunity to do some team running and team tactics, which is always helpful in a team type of competition. It's what I loved about track and field at the high school and college level. I was part of a team, and my performance was worth a certain amount of points, and it was good for the team. Once you've scored your points for the team, then you can become an individual athlete, but not until you've done so. Well, the pace has to be reasonably honest because they're stringing out pretty well early on. That's Trevor Foley of Florida in the early lead. And Ethan Kern of Kentucky, the freshman, in second. Miles Richter of Arkansas is the first Razorback of 6. Followed by Ryan Murphy and then Gilbert Boyd. 3, 4, 5 for Arkansas right now. You see Arkansas also in 7th, 9th, and it looks like about 12th or so.
Well, Trevor Foley up front there for Florida. He's no stranger to running out front. Led the SEC cross-country champs for about half the race before fading. Ran his personal best right here at the Tyson Invitational 2 weeks ago, 14:03.
That first 1,000, I think 2:33, 2:34. If it wasn't a decent pace, we'd see a lot more bunching up. See some athletes running wide just to stay out of a little bit of trouble.
Early in the race here, as you watch these guys sort of find their pace, find their footing and stretch out. The defending champ is in this race, Emmanuel Chebosin from Arkansas. And guys, he's one of these fellas that's trying to walk the tightrope between how much do I expend here, how much can I expend at nationals, and then 2 days later, everybody's going 3.5 hours west of here for the NCAA cross-country championships. And for teams like Arkansas, and teams like Ole Miss, that's a real consideration of how you spend your physical capital over the next couple, 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not an ideal program. When I saw that it was set up that way, I thought, boy, it's really tough to be a distance runner to begin with. And then you slam all those championships together over a very short period of time. You're really asking for trouble. And when they're on that kind of a thin, peaking regime, you just hate to have a situation where you get some of your kids hurt and then they're spend half the outdoor season trying to get them fit again.
Yeah, you have a lot of coaches that have decided that it's one or the other. I spoke with Ed Eyestone at BYU, and he's got guys that could compete at this race, indoor nationals, and he's not going to send them. He's the defending champ in cross country, and he would like to have that trophy again. And so that kind of thins the field back here in Fayetteville in 2 weeks, whereas Arkansas tends to look like they're going to spend their capital because they're at home and try to win a national championship here in Fayetteville and indoor. So it's certainly, as you said, not ideal, and really makes for some challenges for these coaches and these athletes as to what they're going to do.
Well, and on the women's side, I think Arkansas can win the Triple Crown. And so I think they will try to do everything they can to win the NCAA indoor and turn around and win that cross-country title as well. But I got a chance to talk to both the men's and women's coach. Chris Bucknam on the men's side said that, you know, it was going to provide some challenges next weekend, but this weekend the biggest challenge was a three-day championship, and you saw both men's and women's teams in the distance medley relay. They ran B teams.
A little less than half the race run so far. We're going to step aside for a few minutes and return with the finish of the 5,000 meters.
Back here at the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships, watching the 5,000 meter race. 12 laps to go, so about halfway through. So they're running. I'm not really sure they've started to race just yet in this thing. Arkansas trying to put up some big team points in the interim. Go back to Dwight and to Dan, and let's talk about the long jump. And I'll tell you what, for LSU, Javon Harrison, there's that man again.
4 high jumpers became long jumpers, and it was a nice warm-up for defending champion Javon Harrison. He'd won 3 high jump titles. One today was 7.2.5. This was his first trip down the runway in the long jump. Look at the height he just had, and it went out to 27 feet 4 inches, a school record for Harrison, as well as a meet record, and it didn't hurt him to high jump, Dan.
That was just a warm-up. You know, I see he's got a little knee, he's got a little tape on that left knee, but nobody comes off the board with that much height. You know, he just has such a great ability to transfer all that speed. into a moderate amount of height, but it just sent him to 27.4. You know, I think he wanted to win the competition with the first jump, but there's some guys jumping well today.
I think that just muddies the waters more for him as to whether to high jump or long jump. Now 27.4, he's a legit contender to make the Olympic team with a jump like that.
27.4 would probably get you a medal.
Yeah, that's fantastic. A fantastic early season mark. As we return to the 5,000, and now Emmanuel Chimbosin decided it's time to get serious. I should say Gilbert Boyd says it's time to get serious. We have now 9 laps remaining in this race, and I can see 6 Arkansas athletes, which means all of their entries in the race, all up in the top 10.
Well, they have a chance here to score 25 points or more with Boyd, McLeod, Matt Young, Chimbosin. They're all up there.
Now Boyd decides to step aside. A little dialogue with the teammate. Like I said, there's team running tactics going on here. Perfectly legal, perfectly expected. It is a team title that's on the line, and this is their big point opportunity. Arkansas 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 and about 10. 8 places score.
McLeod up front has gone 13-14 this season.
Our statistician Kevin Saylor said they're on about 14:30 pace. That might have picked up a little bit. I'll wait to hear from him. I miscalculated the first 1,000. I forgot that we were indoors and not outdoors. They were probably closer to 250 for that first kilometer, not 233. And Boyd decides he wants to take back over after he gave a little bit of instruction to his teammates. Boyd, McLeod, Murphy, Young. Those are your top 4, all Arkansas. Now top 5. Miles Richter, if he gets in there, they could maybe sweep this event.
It's a super sweep when you take that many positions.
Arkansas top 5 and 9th right now. So 5 of the 6 in scoring position with 5 laps remaining.
Carl Thiessen from Tennessee is just in pain there in that 7th position, and he's trying to hang on to that first group.
Cole Bullock is the first non-Razorback in the pack. Bullock of Ole Miss, just a freshman. Bullock now moving into 5th. Boyd, Murphy, McLeod, and Bullock now into 4th. Bullock, who was 2nd in conference cross country, and doing his best to try to break up this Arkansas sweep. Now 3 laps remaining as Murphy goes into the lead ahead of Boyd. Now they're going to start to come up on runners that they will be lapping, and they will use them tactically as best they can. Arkansas 1, 2, 3, 5. And Bullock now has his sights set perhaps on getting even closer to the front. Quarter of a mile to go, 2 laps. And it's still Arkansas 1, 2, 3 as they continue to lap runners. And Bullock now into 3rd. And he goes more. I'm going to use this hole straight away. And Bullock into the lead. Boyd goes with him. Coming up to the bell, it is Bullock of Ole Miss, Boyd of Arkansas, Murphy of Arkansas. Bullock trying to spoil the party. They're still going to score a boatload of points. But Ole Miss says, I'm taking 10. Cole Bullock in full flight and not slowing down. Does Boyd have enough in the tank to catch him? No. Cole Bullock wins the 5,000, the 10 points for Ole Miss, and most of the rest of the points go to Arkansas. Second, third, fourth, and sixth.
Whoa, look at the freshman. With about 300 meters to go, Cole Bullock, the freshman of Ole Miss, moves up around Gilbert Boyd, the senior, and just drops the hammer. I didn't think he was going to be able to shake Boyd, but just too much speed in that last 100 meters. And he gives him the shark fin at the finish line.
So the 5,000 meters stolen by freshman Cole Bullock of Ole Miss, but after that, it's all Arkansas. Back with more.
Take a look at the results. Final point scoring of the men's 5,000 meters. And Arkansas gets a whole bunch of points, but the glory in the top of the podium, hotty toddy, goes to Cole Bullock of Ole Miss. And he is with us right now after taking a few minutes to gather his thoughts and get his breath back. And Cole, if you could, that looked a lot like the SEC cross country meet. You were 1 on 5, bided your time. When was it you decided that you could take these guys out?
Well, I knew I had to make a move, and if I made it, then I had to really commit to it. So, I mean, I was waiting. Originally, the plan was to go out K left if I'm feeling good, but I wasn't feeling too great. But 2 laps to go, I decided to kick it in and stick with it.
In cross country, you got 6 other guys with you. You were out there alone. What was that like?
It's definitely a different game for sure. You know, I'm used to having a team, Waleed, Mario, all the boys. But, I mean, we had boys in this race, pushed me through, we trained together, and this just felt great.
Yeah, you're a freshman. You're not supposed to be up here just yet. You're supposed to bide your time a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's time.
All right, give the boys the fin and then go back and see your guys and get your breath.
Hotty toddy, baby.
There it is. That's the land shark. That's big down there in Oxford, Mississippi anymore right there. As he comes through, the guy who was second, led a 1-2-3 podium finish of the SEC cross country meet in the last week in October. So big joy there for the folks from Ole Miss. We're going to shorten this thing up a little bit. We're going to go 200, and we're going to do it a couple of times. Dwight?
All right, John, amazing. 26 points for Arkansas on that 5,000 as we now go to the 200 for the guys. Elijah Hall setting that collegiate record 3 years ago. Dream Richards, the meet record. And Matthew Bowling, who got 4th in the long jump by jumping 26.5 3/4. That event concluded 8 minutes ago. He's in the first heat of the 200 in lane 5, and it's run as fast as you possibly can because it's the top 8 times over these 6 heats that will qualify to tomorrow's final. And by the way, he took all 6 jumps in the long jump competition.
Well, this internet sensation, every time this kid runs, he ends up with millions of views on his different, on YouTube. But what's interesting is he is ranked, nationally ranked, Dwight, in 4 separate events: the 60-meter dash, the 200, the long jump. What am I missing? Open 400, and then 5 if you want to count the 4x4 relay. But here at these championships, just a long jump and the 200, and we will see him on the 4x4.
Now a sophomore at Georgia. He was a high school sensation. We got a chance to see him run a few times at Texas Relays and other championship meets. But Coach Petros Capriano over in Georgia was able to land him, and he has been a sensation ever since. Weaver in 3, Dreyer in 4, Bowling in 5, and then Nilo Clark of Missouri out in 6, and Bowling is gone. It's all the way in lanes, as fast as you can, up the hill, and down the hill. And Bowling will establish the time to beat in the first heat, 20.38. Not much to fear about making the final with a time like that. And that is a lifetime best by 0.15 of a second, and he literally just stopped long jumping less than 15 minutes ago.
Well, the long jump was just a warm-up for this 200 meters. There's Matthew Bowling. He does such a great job of pushing out. He's so powerful. He does it with stride length, and he does it with stride frequency. A big goal for him this year in his sprinting technique was to try and relax. He was very tense last year. He looks pretty relaxed right here. Looks very powerful. A lot of gains in the weight room. All the coaches at Georgia say he is just a different guy here in season 2. And one of those guys, Dwight, I said last year he might not have been challenging for an Olympic team, but this year maybe in the 200 meters he can challenge.
20.37 it was corrected to. The meet record is 20.34. So he just misses that. And with a little rest, no long jump tomorrow, he may, and he didn't run the 60, he might have a chance at getting that meet record from Jareem Richards. So heat 2 of 6, and this is Evan Miller of South Carolina. The junior will start out in lane 6. Only 3 athletes scheduled in this second heat.
Probably no event more important than to land one of those outside lanes than this 200 meters. Just lanes 3 and 4, absolutely impossible to run quick times. If you're lucky enough to get lane 5 or 6, you need to take advantage of it. That's where the fast running's going to be today.
There's Delano Dunkley of Georgia. They're on the inside in lane 4. They don't even run this distance at the World Championships indoors anymore because anybody who didn't get a lane 5 or 6 lane draw wouldn't show up for the final. So they dropped it. Dunkley of Georgia and Jamaica in lane 4, senior. Daniels from Mississippi State, the freshman, in 5, and then Evan Miller, the junior, from South Carolina, out in 6. 20:37, the fastest time, the time to beat. Miller all by himself out there in lane 6. Dunkley making up the stagger on Daniels. Got to be careful to stay off that line. Miller 20.87 unofficially. And that is a personal best.
2 heats. The winners of both heats come out with personal bests. I think this track is pretty fast.
I think it's a combination of the track and it's really time to run. It's championship running.
Dunkley looked like he got a good start on the inside, but just way too much strength. He used way too much strength in that last turn, and it was all Evan Miller the last 50 meters. He'll lower his personal best from 2093 to 2087.
Many of these athletes looking to return here in 2 weeks for the NCAA Indoor Championships, the event that we actually were at in Albuquerque last year when everything was shut down by the NCAA. No winter or spring championships, so it'd be good to get back to that national title. Lance Lang, who we saw earlier in the 60 meters qualifying. He will be in lane 4, tough draw for him. And Dedrick Vanover, who we also saw in the 60, he will be just to his outside in lane number 5. Lang with a 20.75 personal best from this season just a couple weeks ago.
A lot of 60s for Lang last year, more 200s for him this year. It'll be exciting to see him on that 4x1 outdoors. Vanover looked good in that 60. I think he's more suited from a body type to run a 200 here.
Lang running that 2075 at Clemson, the school without a track program any longer, but a very good track. We know the Texas Tech track is good. We know the A&M track is good, and of course this one. So there's 4 or 5 very good tracks where a lot of these athletes have gravitated in the meets that have been held this winter to get some of those qualifying times. Lang in 4, Vanover in 5. Third heat, 200 meters. making up that stagger already on Vanover. It's all Lang so far. Lance Lang, 20.78, just misses his lifetime best. .79 is what it's corrected to.
Well, we saw some of our fastest runners get situated in lane 5 and 6 in the last 2 heats. But here, Lang is in lane 4, and he's the fastest. He's got the fastest personal best in this particular heat. Look what he does. He really blasts out. You have got to be aggressive in this 200 meters, and you certainly see that in the women's race. You'll see how aggressive Abby Steiner is. But Lance Lang takes a page out of her book and just blasts that first 160 meters and is just able to hold on and turn over at the end.
I've been doing this conference indoor meet a lot of years, and I don't think there was a time when you could run 21 anything and make it into the final of the SEC Championship 200. 20.79 for Lance Lang, the winner of Heat 3. So it looks like we may, no, there he is. There's Dorian Campbell out in lane 6. So all 3 athletes have shown up. There's Tyler Davis, the sophomore from Florida, who ran 20.89 here at the Tyson Invitational a couple weeks ago.
Having trouble keeping track of these Florida Gators. There's a number of short sprinters, but Davis was 6th last year. Solid improvement this year.
And you can tell he is not a short athlete. To have anything inside lane 5 would probably be a disadvantage for Tyler Davis. Just from here, he looks to go a good 6'2", maybe 6'3". Dante Brown of Auburn down in lane 4. And then Dorian Campbell of LSU on the outside. Let's see how long it takes for Tyler Davis to make up that stagger. Camel's holding his own out there. And comes Dante Brown in lane 4, working hard. It is Dante Brown in lane 4 winning the heat with Davis right there, probably both running fast enough to get into the final.
Well, if that time holds up, personal best for the top 2 guys. Dante Brown, though, look at his foot placement as he runs this turn. Oh my gosh, he's all over the line, all the way around the turn. But he might have missed it all the way around, but that was nice running from that inside lane for the youngster.
Well, none of those steps were on the line.
Nope.
We might have caught it a little late. Well, we'll see.
But a big personal best for him.
Time holds up 20.72. He's wincing a little bit there. Tyler Davis at 20.79. Both those times are almost certain to get through. As we move along to heat number 5 of 6. And this heat featuring Joseph Fambule, who we saw false start out of his heat in the 60 meters earlier. Just a sophomore, and his 20.42 personal best 2 weeks ago here at the Tyson Invitational.
2-time New Balance champion in the 100 and 200 back in 2019. This is what we call a redemption run. You false start out of one race, you get a chance to run another one. Let's see what he can do with it.
Charles Lewis of LSU on the outside in lane 6 has run 20.91.
Lewis finished 11th last year. A good lane draw for Fambulla.
And at 2091, Lewis should make a good target for Fambulla too, for certainly half the race. Quicker gun than we had seen. Fambulla didn't seem to react to it all that well. Now he starts to get some momentum, catches him at the 100-meter mark. Shamar Rose of Mississippi State is right there. Fambulla 20.48 unofficially. And that would be the second fastest time amongst the heats. Only Matthew Bowling's 20.37 is superior to that.
All right, that's a great redemption run. A little bit bigger guy. You can see he labored just a little bit on that final turn, but took him a little while to get going. But once he did, he was able to carry that momentum around the track.
So corrected to 20.49. Still the second fastest time run so far of the 5 heats run. 1 heat remaining. The bubble was 21.10 after 4 heats. He might get in with a 21.02 or something like that. That would be the first time in a long time that we've seen 21 anything make the final. There's Terrence Laird, the senior from LSU. Drew that less than ideal lane 4, but has run 20.41 2 weeks ago here at the Tyson Invitational.
Last year's SEC indoor champion and number 2 on the LSU all-time indoor 200-meter list.
Lance Broom of A&M out in the outside lane 6. Brandon Smiley of Auburn.
Smiley's PB's just outside of 21 flat. There's a good opportunity for him to dip under that 21-second mark for the first time.
It's a pretty good standard at this meet. You got to go in thinking you got to run under 21 seconds if you want to make it the final.
And another youngster from Florida on the inside. A lot of young athletes from Florida.
Laird slow to the set position, but out well. They're making this stagger on Smiley. Doing a good job in that lane 4. Stays well away from the line, and now lifting into the finish. 20.44. And that becomes the second fastest time.
Wow, Laird made that look easy. He's just got such great turnover. He made up the stagger in no time with 100 meters to go. He's just negotiating that last turn, but he's so in control. And I think if he needed to put it into another gear here with 50 meters to go, I think he's still got it.
20.46 officially for Terrence Laird, so that's the second fastest time of the day. Bowling time, by the way, 20.37 is the fastest time in the world this year. Lance Broom in second with 20.89. That will advance. And there you are, the 8 finalists for tomorrow's men's 200 meters. And We'll be back with much more here at the Randall Tyson Center when we return.
We are back and glad that you are with us here at the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships, Randall Tyson Track Center, Fayetteville, Arkansas, getting ready to wrap up the heptathlon. 2 days and 7 events. We got 1,000 meters to go. We'll let Dwight and Dan tell you how we got there.
7 events over 2 days, and we start out with the 60-meter dash. Johannes Erm, the senior from Georgia and Estonia, without question, the favorite coming in.
Well, he had not only the 2019, but the 2020 SEC champion closest to us. That's Kyle Garland with the headband there. But Erm definitely the favorite coming in. He's one of those guys in the outdoor season. You look him to be an NCAA champion, 8,300 points. But as we move over to the long jump, this is Erm on his first attempt. He's a good long jumper. 24.9 on his first attempt. This is his teammate Kyle Garland. 2 SEC champs going head to head. Garland, Philly native, one of those young decathletes that have been spotted over the years. Somebody who I think is going to benefit from another year of training as well. But this is Erm on his second attempt. Ooh, and he just runs through. He was slow getting up out of the pit, needed help as a matter of fact. Went straight to the hospital from this competition. They're wrapping up the indoor season, trying to get him ready for outdoors. So one of the favorites is out. As we move to the shot put, this is Kyle Garland. He's a very strong sprinter, and he's also a very strong thrower. Love the color, love the different color socks there, Dwight. Boom, so a big shot put for Garland. That's a third attempt, over 50 feet, an outstanding shot put in any conditions. And then we move over to the high jump. Believe it or not, Dwight, this guy can high jump 6'11" as well. He was the last man standing. This is his second attempt at 6'11". Boom, and he's over. And that was a personal best. Excuse me, that tied a personal best for him. He had a personal best in the shot put, ties a personal best in the high jump. And that's it for day 1. Here we are in day 2. Garland looking to keep things rolling there on the outside in the red headband. Big, strong guy, moves really well. Reminds me of Milt Campbell a little bit. Milt Campbell had outstanding multi-event in the early 1950s, but Garland now is rolling as we move over to the pole vault. One personal best in the shot put, tied a personal best in the high jump, and his area that he needed to work on was the pole vault. Here, a personal best, third attempt at 15.7 for 834 points. And your standings after 6 events going into the final event, the 1,000 meters. Garland has a 138-point lead over the hog, Marcus Belangi. And Belangi, that Liberty transfer from 2 years ago, didn't get a chance to compete last year, but everybody's excited to see what he can do here at Arkansas at home. But there's your leader, Kyle Garland.
Arkansas occupying 2nd, 4th, and 5th position going into this 1,000. So they're looking to score a lot of points with the dropping of Erm, who was really rather hurt, and they're hoping to get him back for the outdoor season. It's a big blow to Georgia in this multi-event competition where they're always so strong and so deep.
Well, the school record at Georgia is 61.77, and Kyle Garland would need to run 2:46 for 803 points to break that record held by Devin Williams. Marcus Belangi has a chance to catch Garland, but he would need to beat him by more than 10 seconds. He's run 2:44. Garland has run, Garland would need 2:34. Garland has run 2:46. Belangi 2:44 for his personal best. So in the 1,000 meters, Kyle Garland in the red headband, he just needs to keep Marcus Belangi with the long flowing locks there within eye shot. He can't get beat by more than 10 seconds.
And you got to be so careful about your pace here, because 10 seconds doesn't seem like something that you can't handle, but all of a sudden you start to tie up, you got a lap to go, and things just aren't working like they should, that can be a problem.
There you see Belangi on the outside in the Razorback red there, now into second position, trying to make a little bit of move. He's going for it, and I like this.
Peyton Davis of Tennessee leading in this 1,000.
Ziggy Zoller in third position, out front of his teammate Garland. He's probably told Garland, he said, look, I'm going to be up front, just stay with me. A lot of teamwork goes on here. And here you see Belangi's teammate. That's Edamar Bastakar. He's had a good meet.
2 laps remaining.
He's trying to spur Belangi on now. Ooh, Kyle Garland looks tired.
Yeah, he's starting to dog it. Belangi really trying to work with Peyton Davis as much as he can. The gap is widening a little bit each straightaway, but he's still hanging in there.
Bastakar goes around Belangi. 1 lap to go, 2:09. Here we go, boys.
Well, it's definitely not 10 seconds at this point. It's probably more like 3.
Belangi's got to make a move now if he has any hope of beating Kyle Garland, but a good run for Davis up front. Bastakar in second position, Belangi behind him, and here comes the rest of the group.
Daniel Spexer of Arkansas also crossing early. Certainly not 10 seconds difference between Garland and Belangi.
2:41 for the leader, Peyton Davis. Spager from Arkansas, 2:45. That was Spager, not Bastakar, up front. Edmondson from Auburn comes up from behind. Bastakar then goes 2:46. Let's see where Belangi finished. And this just, it's moments like this, Dwight, that I'm glad I'm no longer a multi-event athlete. This part of the race is just absolute misery. These guys have been on their feet for 2 long days. They just got done pole vaulting. They got to run 1,000 indoors. They're big, strong guys, and this is certainly not their forte. There you see Belangi come to a finish, and about a 4-second difference, 3 or 4 second difference between Marcus Belangi and Kyle Garland.
Well, we'll be able to get the separation right in a few minutes. We'll get back to John.
Kyle Garland, I know it's hard when you're 22 seconds after the competition to assess your performance, but tell us what you thought of your 2 days out here.
Man, I couldn't even really think. It was just all by the grace of God that I was able to come out and do what I was able to do today. And yesterday, I mean, I'm kind of speechless. I mean, a month and a half ago, I tore my hamstring, and I basically wanted to tell myself I can't do this anymore. But it wasn't even me. It was just by the grace of God that I'm able to be here today and put up a massive score over 6,000 points.
So you've got months and months of inactivity because of the pandemic, and we've torn our hamstring. Like, how'd you get through it all?
You know, I just kind of told myself that this is bigger than me. This is beyond me. Yesterday, my teammate Johannes Erm went down in the long jump, and after that event, I told him that I had to do this for him.
Kyle Garland, congratulations. And Dwight, just so you know, he's truly a multi-guy. He also plays the violin, the drums, the piano, and the guitar. Like, he's a multi-guy.
Congratulations on a great performance, especially coming back from that adversity. So the multi-events in the book. Kyle Garland scoring over 6,000 points for the first time ever.
Men's competition is done for the day here at the 2021 SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. 6 events are complete: the weight throw, the long jump, the high jump, the DMR, the 5,000, and the heptathlon. Dan and Dwight, it has certainly been a day that's different than we're used to in an empty place, but we still had SEC quality performances across the board. Your thoughts on what we saw here?
Well, I got to tell you, Matthew Bowling, 26.5 3/4 for 4th in the long jump, and then a few minutes later, literally 20:37, just 0.03 of a second off the meet record in the 200. We already knew he was a star. He proved it today.
Well, I got to give my hat off to Kyle Garland. Ruptured hamstring over a month ago, comes out here and wins his 2nd SEC title. He was a winner last year, but he's leading such a great group of multi-event athletes. But great speed today. Love those 200 meters. It's going to be a hot race tomorrow.
Honorable mention, Javon Harrison in the high jump, long jump.
Right, because as you look at those men's team standings, if you took Harrison, he's just tied with Alabama there at 20 points for 4th as he comes through. But Arkansas, big performance, 27 points in the 5,000 meters and 15 there out of the multis. And Arkansas on its way, as you see on the board here, to its 153rd conference championship since joining the SEC. That will wrap up our men's coverage for the day. There's old Javon Harrison, 2-time champ. With the long jump and the high jump. We will be back 6:25 Eastern, 5:25 local with all of the women's competition here from the 2021 SEC Indoor Track Championship. For Dan, for Dwight, I'm John Anderson. Back with more track and field in just about 90 minutes.